Why most people never change. Every year begins with promises, new goals, new plans, new words spoken with hope. But when the year ends, most people discover something painful. They live the same life, just under a different date. The Stoics never trusted motivation alone. They trusted character. They believed that if the mind remains the same, no calendar can save you. Real change does not announce itself. It does not seek witnesses. It works in silence, shaping the way you think, respond, and endure. 2026 is not asking you to impress anyone. It is asking you to become someone new. Not louder, not busier, but calmer, stronger, harder to disturb. This is not about becoming better than others. It is about becoming unrecognizable to your former self. Pause here, breathe, and let us begin the rebuilding. Way 1. Stop reacting. Start choosing. Stoic wisdom teaches that life itself is neutral. It is our reactions that turn moments into suffering. Most people live in reaction mode. They react to words. They react to opinions. They react to delays, criticism, and loss. Their emotions lead. Their reason follows too late. The Stoic learns a different way. Before every reaction, there is a space. In that space lives your freedom. To become unrecognizable in 2026, you must reclaim that space. Instead of responding instantly, you pause. Instead of defending yourself, you observe. Instead of exploding, you breathe. A Stoic reminder often expressed is this: you are not disturbed by events. You are disturbed by how you interpret them. This year, your discipline begins here. One breath before anger, one moment before speaking, one pause before judgment. Slow reactions create strong people. By the end of 2026, people will notice something unsettling about you. You are calm where they panic, silent where they complain, steady where they collapse. That is the first sign of becoming unrecognizable. Way 2. Build discipline in silence. Most people announce change. Stoics prepare quietly. They do not post their plans. They do not explain their discipline. They do not seek encouragement. Why? Because discipline that depends on applause collapses in loneliness. Stoic teaching reminds us, what you practice in private becomes your strength in public. To rebuild yourself, you must fall in love with unseen effort. Wake early without telling anyone. Work when no one is watching. Keep promises you never announced. Silence sharpens discipline. When no one knows your routine, there is no pressure to perform, no ego to protect, no image to maintain. Only character remains. By the end of the year, people will ask, "How did you change so much?" You won't explain, because the work was never meant to be seen. Way 3. Choose discomfort before life chooses it for you. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They avoid cold mornings. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid silence. They avoid effort unless it promises immediate reward. And because of this, life eventually delivers discomfort without warning. The Stoics understood a hard truth. The body and mind that never meet resistance become fragile. They did not seek pain for its own sake. They sought strength, and strength requires friction. To become unrecognizable in 2026, you must change your relationship with discomfort. Instead of asking, "How can I make this easier?" you begin asking, "How can this make me stronger?" This shift alone separates you from most people. The power of voluntary hardness. There's a quiet confidence that forms when you willingly choose difficulty. When you wake early even when comfort invites you to stay. When you finish the task even when motivation disappears. When you remain calm even when emotion urges you to react. Stoic wisdom often reminds us that the person who can endure discomfort without resentment becomes free. Freedom does not come from avoiding hardship. It comes from knowing you can endure it. When you practice voluntary discomfort, fear loses its grip, anxiety weakens, confidence becomes internal. You no longer need perfect conditions to function. You become adaptable. Small discomforts, great transformation. This is not about extreme suffering. It is about small daily resistance. Choosing discipline over comfort, silence over unnecessary noise, action over excuse. Each small choice trains your nervous system to remain steady. Over time, something subtle happens. You stop fearing difficulty. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop postponing growth. And people begin to notice. They see someone who moves through life with quiet certainty. Someone who does not collapse when plans fail. Someone who does not panic when conditions change. They cannot name it, but they feel it. Discomfort is a teacher, not an enemy. The Stoics did not label hardship as bad. They asked, "What is this teaching me?" When discomfort arrives, you no longer ask, "How do I escape this?" You ask, "How do I stand stronger within this?" Every challenge becomes training. Every delay becomes patience practice. Every insult becomes emotional discipline. Every obstacle becomes mental conditioning. By the end of 2026, you'll notice something profound. Things that once overwhelmed you now barely register. This is not numbness. This is mastery. Why this makes you unrecognizable. Most people are shaped by comfort. You are shaped by choice. Most people need favorable conditions to feel stable. You learn to carry stability within. Most people break when pressure increases. You become clearer. This is how transformation happens quietly, not through dramatic change, but through daily endurance. Transition to the next way. When you no longer fear discomfort, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop needing approval. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop leaning on others for emotional balance. Which brings us to the next Stoic way, one of the most powerful transformations of all. Emotional self-sufficiency. Wave 4. Become emotionally self-sufficient. Most people are not exhausted by life. They're exhausted by needing approval, needing reassurance, needing others to behave a certain way so they can feel okay. The Stoics saw this clearly. They understood that when your emotional balance depends on external things, your peace is always fragile. If praise lifts you, criticism will crush you. If attention comforts you, neglect will wound you. If agreement steadies you, disagreement will shake you. To become unrecognizable in 2026, you must reclaim ownership of your emotional world. The cost of emotional dependence. Emotional dependence is subtle. It hides behind productivity, behind relationships, behind success. But underneath, it sounds like this. I need them to understand me. I need validation to feel confident. I need things to go my way to be calm. The Stoics warned against this quietly, not harshly. They taught that anything you need to feel whole can control you. When your emotions are governed by others, your mood is unstable, your confidence fluctuates, your identity weakens, you are always reacting. The Stoic shift from needing to steadiness. Emotional self-sufficiency does not mean isolation. It does not mean indifference or coldness. It means grounded independence. It means your sense of worth does not rise and fall with opinion. It means your calm does not disappear when circumstances change. Stoic wisdom often points to this idea. A strong mind does not reject emotion. It refuses to be ruled by it. In 2026, your work is not to suppress feeling, but to contain it. You feel anger without becoming cruel. You feel sadness without collapsing. You feel joy without clinging. This balance is rare. Detaching from praise and criticism. Praise feels good. Criticism feels sharp, but both can distort you. Praise can make you dependent. Criticism can make you defensive. The Stoic path teaches a quieter stance. Listen, but do not absorb. When praised, you acknowledge, but do not inflate. When criticized, you examine, but do not collapse. You ask one question only. Is this useful? If yes, you learn. If no, you let it pass. Your self-worth remains intact. Over time, something changes. You stop seeking applause. You stop fearing judgment. You move freely. The power of being unmoved. There's a particular strength in someone who remains composed when emotions swirl around them. Not cold, not distant, but steady. Others feel it immediately. They sense. You are not easily manipulated. You do not beg for validation. You are not desperate for approval. This steadiness becomes magnetic, not because you demand attention, but because you do not need it. Emotional self-sufficiency in practice. This transformation happens through small decisions. Not explaining yourself unnecessarily, not defending your every choice, not chasing, understanding from those unwilling to give it. You learn to say internally, I am responsible for my state, no one else. And in this responsibility, you find freedom. Why this makes you unrecognizable. Most people are emotionally reactive. You become emotionally rooted. Most people are shaken by words. You learn to observe them. Most people outsource their peace. You protect yours. By the end of 2026, others may describe you differently. Calmer, more grounded, harder to disturb. They will sense you have changed, even if they don't know how. Transition. When you no longer depend on external approval, something deeper awakens. A sharp awareness of time, a clarity about what matters. Which brings us to the next Stoic way, one that changes how you live every single day. Remembering mortality. Wave 5. Live as if time is finite. Because it is. Most people behave as if time is endless. They postpone courage. They delay honesty. They wait to begin living. The Stoics never did. They carried a quiet awareness with them, not of fear but of finitude. They understood that forgetting death is what makes life shallow. Remembering it makes life deliberate. Mortality as clarity, not darkness. When people hear death, they often think of sadness or despair. The Stoics saw something else. They saw focus. They believed that when you remember your time is limited, you stop wasting it on what does not matter. Stoic wisdom often reminds us, you do not own tomorrow. You are only borrowing today. This awareness does not paralyze you. It sharpens you. You speak more honestly. You choose more carefully. You stop living on autopilot. The urgency that frees you. There are two kinds of urgency. One is frantic, driven by fear, comparison, and pressure. The other is calm, driven by clarity. Stoic urgency belongs to the second kind. It whispers, do what matters now. Not everything, not all at once, but the right thing. When you live with this awareness, you stop arguing over small things. You stop delaying meaningful work. You stop tolerating empty routines. Life becomes precise. How mortality transforms your identity. When you remember that your time is limited, excuses lose power, distractions lose appeal, meaning gains weight. You stop living for someday. You start living intentionally. The Stoics taught that a person who knows their days are numbered does not waste them in resentment or envy. They invest in character, wisdom, inner peace. By 2026, this awareness will make you unrecognizable. Others will feel it. They will sense that you move with purpose, that your words carry weight, that your presence is grounded. Practicing mortal awareness without fear. This practice is gentle, not morbid. It does not mean obsession with death. It means respect for life. Each morning, you quietly remind yourself, this day will not return. Each evening you reflect, did I live this day well? This simple practice changes everything. Why most people avoid this truth? Because it demands responsibility. It removes the illusion of endless time. It challenges comfort. It demands honesty. But those who accept it gain something rare, a life lived awake. Transition. When you live with awareness of mortality, you naturally begin to simplify. You speak less. You observe more. You protect your attention. Which leads us to the next Stoic way, one of the most overlooked forms of power: silence and observation. Way 6. Speak less. Observe more. Master your attention. In a noisy world, silence has become a rare form of power. Everyone speaks. Few observe. Everyone reacts. Few understand. The Stoics believe that attention is your most valuable resource because whatever you give attention to eventually shapes who you become. Why the Stoics valued silence. Silence was never weakness to the Stoics. It was discipline. They understood something modern life has forgotten. The loudest person in the room usually knows the least. When you speak less, you listen more. When you listen more, you learn faster. When you learn faster, you move wiser. Silence creates space. Space between stimulus and response. And in that space, your power lives. Observation before reaction. Most people live reactively. Someone speaks, they respond instantly. Something happens, they judge immediately. A feeling arises, they obey it. The Stoic way is different. They pause. They watch their emotions instead of becoming them. They study people instead of arguing with them. They observe patterns instead of getting lost in moments. This alone will make you unrecognizable by 2026. You will no longer be easily provoked, no longer controlled by impulse, no longer dragged into unnecessary conflict. The quiet advantage. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. People listen when you finally speak. You avoid revealing unnecessary information. Silence protects you. It allows you to move strategically rather than emotionally. The Stoics knew that not everything requires a response. Sometimes the strongest move is restraint. Mastering attention in a distracted age. Attention is the battlefield of modern life. Your phone, the news, other people's opinions, endless noise. Most people surrender their attention without resistance. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Guard your attention as you would guard your life, because in many ways, it is your life. What you repeatedly focus on becomes your inner world. If you focus on outrage, you become angry. If you focus on comparison, you become insecure. If you focus on purpose, you become steady. Practical Stoic discipline of attention. Each day practice limiting unnecessary speech, reducing exposure to noise, choosing what deserves your focus. Ask yourself, is this worth my attention? If the answer is no, let it pass. This practice builds calm strength. Wise silence makes you dangerous. In a good way. A person who is calm, observant, and intentional cannot be easily manipulated. They are not rushed. They are not reactive. They are not desperate to be heard. They move with clarity. By 2026, this alone will separate you from the crowd. Transition. When you master silence and attention, something powerful happens. You stop being pulled by the world and begin shaping yourself deliberately, which brings us to the final Stoic way, the one that ties everything together. Self-mastery through daily discipline. Way 7. Build daily discipline and become unbreakable. There's a moment in every person's life when motivation disappears, energy fades, excitement dies, the initial fire goes out, and this is where most people stop. The Stoics understood something timeless. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is permanent. If you want to become unrecognizable in 2026, discipline is not optional. It is the foundation. Wise Stoics trusted discipline over feelings. Feelings change by the hour. One day you feel inspired. The next day you feel empty. If your growth depends on mood, you will remain inconsistent. Stoicism teaches, do what must be done, regardless of how you feel. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, while battling illness, war, betrayal, and exhaustion. He did not wait to feel ready. He acted because it was right. Discipline is identity, not punishment. Most people misunderstand discipline. They see it as restriction. Stoics saw it as freedom. Discipline frees you from regret, chaos, weak impulses, self-betrayal. Every disciplined action sends a message to your mind. I can trust myself. And self-trust is the rarest confidence on earth. The Stoic formula, small daily actions. Stoics didn't chase dramatic transformation. They believed in small effort, daily repetition, long-term consistency. You don't build strength in one workout. You don't build wisdom in one insight. You don't build character in one decision. You build it through daily agreement with your values. The non-negotiables of a Stoic life. A Stoic life is built on routines, not moods. Examples: you train your body even when tired. You train your mind even when bored. You keep your word even when inconvenient, not because it feels good, but because it forms who you are. By 2026, people will notice you are steady, you are reliable, you are composed, and they won't understand how. Becoming unbreakable. An unbreakable person is not someone who never struggles. It is someone who does not abandon themselves under pressure. They don't quit when it's hard. They don't collapse when criticized. They don't drift when life becomes uncertain. They return again and again to discipline. The Stoic morning and evening practice. Stoics structure their days intentionally. Morning, prepare the mind, expect difficulty, commit to virtue. Evening, review actions, correct mistakes, forgive yourself, adjust tomorrow. This daily loop creates unstoppable momentum. Why 2026 will be different for you? Because while others chase motivation, seek comfort, react emotionally, you will choose discipline, accept discomfort, act intentionally, and that difference compounds. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. Transition. These 7 Stoic ways are not ideas. They are a way of living. And if you practice them consistently, you will not recognize yourself by 2026. Not because you became someone else, but because you finally became yourself. The Stoic rebirth, becoming a new you. There's a quiet moment that arrives after discipline has been built, after fear has been faced, after control has been reclaimed. It is a moment when the old self no longer fits. The Stoics call this inner rebirth, not dramatic, not announced, not loud, but irreversible. The death of the old self. To become unrecognizable, something must be left behind. Not people, not your past, but habits that no longer serve you. The need for approval, the fear of being misunderstood, the addiction to comfort, the identity built on excuses. The Stoics understood. Growth requires the courage to disappoint your former self. You do not destroy who you were. You release them with gratitude, with honesty, with resolve. Living without the need for validation. Once you begin to live by Stoic principles, something strange happens. The world gets quieter. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop proving. You no longer need permission to exist as you are. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish. Freedom arrives when opinions lose their power. Becoming internally anchored. Most people are controlled by external chaos. A Stoic becomes anchored inside. Praise doesn't inflate you. Criticism doesn't break you. Success doesn't intoxicate you. Failure doesn't define you. Your worth becomes non-negotiable, and that steadiness changes how people experience you. They feel calm around you. They sense depth. They sense strength. Why few will understand you? As you change, some people will feel uncomfortable, not because you are wrong, but because you are no longer predictable. You don't argue. You don't chase. You don't beg for attention. You stand quietly. Stoicism doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. The Stoic definition of success. By 2026, success will not be money alone, status alone, achievement alone. Success will be peace under pressure, control over impulses, alignment between values and actions. You will wake up with direction, sleep with integrity, and live without inner conflict. The final Stoic truth. The Stoics never promised happiness. They promised freedom. Freedom from fear of loss, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty, fear of yourself. And freedom is the greatest transformation of all. A healing closing message. You don't need to rush. You don't need to impress. You don't need to become perfect. You only need to become consistent. One choice, one habit, one day at a time. By 2026, you won't announce your growth. People will feel it.